Alright, now the Logi Sava Lamrim, the Lodang Buki, Losaviki, go to Yadi Chagore, and Zang of Chazan, and Doshe, and Chazanti Wochi and Yazom Janja, on the Quan Doshe Lamrim, Chinja, Rava de Kof, Yawochidan, and Kawasan Wochire.
Good evening. So tonight is our very first class of the new year, our very first Lamrim class of the new year. And immediately we should recognize what a very rare and precious opportunity it is to have in-depth teachings on a profound text such as this.
Chazan Lamrim Chin Jiang Zuya, and then the Tsongkhapa Najin, and the Tesam de Yawoche, and the Donatia, and some Daje, Gom Yamlanchi, Lamrim Sumbanaji, Yamlanchi, Tuba Chikin, Sipeda, the Negi, the Hana Samja, Tamjig, and San Yoko Pontober show, the Ichido, Manzuga Lamrim, Yamsu Chin, Jetinma, Netuna, some down, Gom Yamlan, Tarchim Chikin, Sipeda, Kunoro, Dinner some Daiwa.
As always, one starts with generating motivation, and it's always important, but in particular now, as our first class of the year, we generate the determination to listen well to this and all the subsequent teachings, and not only to hear what is being said, but to put it into practice, to practice in exactly the way that is presented. So in other words, not only to gather knowledge by listening well, but also to utilize this knowledge to transform our very way of thinking.
Chikosore, Comjungulo, and the Shineda, Houghton Juvala, and the Karakugure, Senemanzuki, the Shinel Houghton Juya, and Yamechabala, Tosa, or Tosa, Tosa, the Karesene, Delia, won't be a Kotamba, Sajita, and the Shishin Juba, won't be a Kotamba. Won't be a Kotamba, make pass on my time, won't be a Kotamba, says Jorova, then won't be Titan to other, won't be a Kotamba, said. Session to Juba said, Seki Tsongkhapa said, and then Minyawa Najula, Zenshin, and then Nevi Sechida Tsongkhapa said, and the Kassing, the Shiva Nane, Dang, the Sum the Shu Sarge, Ding Marcus to the Garson, Minyawa Najula, Zenshin, and then Nevi Sechida Chawa said in the Marcus.
Last year, amongst the various chapters we looked at how to rely on the spiritual teacher in depth, and thereafter we started with the chapter that we are now on, which is how to engage in the actual meditation session. So in this chapter, we first looked at what to do. We were in the context of looking at what to do in the meditation session. We first looked at the preparation and those 6 points. Then we looked on the actual meditation session itself, thereafter the conclusion. So those are the 3 parts of the meditation session: the preparation, the actual session, and its conclusion. And now we are on the what to do in between sessions. And that has 4 parts, of which we've looked at 3. The need to restrain our sense doors between sessions, the need to rely on vigilant introspection, as well as thirdly, the right measure or the correct measure of sleep. So of the 4 parts that comprise, or the 4 sub-outlines of what to do between sessions, we've looked at 3, and tonight we come to the 4th, and that is on sleep. So in the printed handout on page 60 in the middle, or in the published book, page 53 in the middle, and the outline is practicing earnestly without sleeping at the wrong time and behaving well when lying down to sleep.
And Minyawa Najula, Junshin, Nevi Sidar Chava Nis, and the sheeting on the Kumuluki, and the sheeting on the Karsungarasene, sheeting Lies, Rigbe Dani, Nimber Tadata, Tsemwang Tui, Dume Dene, and 날창 지부메버 미규르베 잔나 덴베 데다 바르도 놀스 시에송 베사.
Lama Tsongkhapa starts this outline with a quotation from Nagarjuna's letter to a friend. Lord of the lineage, having practiced all day and in the first and last periods of the night, sleep with mindfulness between those periods so that even your sleeping is not wasted.
Adonala rivi kebo se dida dapo rivi dani sene kebo se rota kebo delia an kumuluki pa shiri dus yi sono de kabla ane nimbar tada se de ninga nga zuge kom nyamlen che da ane chen ane karsore nyamlen che di tunji ane 지금 남기 쳐되다 참여 서로 참여리야 하는 냠내 해야 되지. 세상 튼이 전장 되기 되매 대바스 되매다 대내다 생김 아주게 내 대내다 천년들 와도 년들 대반에서 쳐되 처음에 대내 바르기다 바라들 생공을 년들이 세상 되매 대내스 냐ል창 예외체 ane karchegora sene nga zuki nima ku nyeliya ngewi ge lama la deba cheya da shenla pembe sem gomya da an chige soso du gewa sam gewe sam de du che sam da che ni hu so wa na ni gewe na so na ane gewa sa gores che san je hu nyewi na le nal chang je bo me ba mi gyuru be nyewi kap so ya ane je hu sa gore gewa sa gore sa chi dine inza janna temba deda 바르도 놀로 시대 지내기 전시 된제 잠바다 잠베 된비 토네 두시네네 니후구레 놀세데 니후구레서 오르다.
Nagarjuna starts with Lord of the lineage, which is a polite way to address the king to whom this letter was composed. So Lord of the lineage refers to the king or the recipient of this letter. And then it continues, having practiced all day and in the first and last periods of the night. So in other words, when one is engaging in intense meditation practice, practicing during the day, as well as at the start of the evening, and then early in the morning would be the last period of the night. Then one has a period in between when one goes to sleep. So here then, one is encouraged to not waste the period of sleep. You've utilized your waking hours well. Now don't waste the opportunity of sleep. Don't waste the opportunity to accumulate virtue whilst sleeping. So therefore, Nagarjuna encourages the king to sleep with mindfulness as well, and being mindful of what was meditated on during the day. So the one chapter that we've looked at, or the one primary meditation topic that has been looked at, is how to rely on the spiritual teacher. So if that is the meditation topic that the king, in this case, was meditating on from early in the morning throughout the day and into the evening, when it's time to sleep, then that what will be meditated on should be recalled. So remember, the word for mindfulness is also the word for memory or recollection. So one recalls what you'd been meditating on, and holding that in mind, one then falls asleep. And in this way, one utilizes the period of sleep well.
chatyume nisu tunjung owadang tunsamdu jidar jawa tenbes jisna dade shijingi tsiti kari tingo rela na tunda kari shungurasane nyin shilbosane nime nyenga sewarda ele deji tsiti loyo marwa di loa shandang borwa songpa shi nyin shilbodang nimo shilbodang tsemo chatyume ni tunjung owadang tunsamdu jidar jawa tenbes Then
Lama Tsongkhapa continues with his explanation of the verse he quoted. And it starts with the actual sessions of both the entire day and during the first and last part of the night. So up to there.
对那的需要拿现在，其实您是不的是的，你们年刚上这个的，但学会的地方的学会作为亚拉这个就业界的这，因为是我们这的呢，这个像这个参把参的呀，这样给月加瓦其他的都现在广大把都这都记得你们年刚这个给学了转把的结果的话，其实教话的我的都些，那的呢，前的了那前的这。团结告诉我了，才对面一切的，前的了的，我30遍刚才几把东西就给我这，这团结算的，这你也个那个话，对面的团结我的，但把他们说其他家伙这些团结我了，其他家伙吧，但团结对了，其他家伙给他结果嘞，团结我告诉给他结果嘞，但团结没了给他结果嘞，但团参就告诉团对这样把他把动的呀，什么看的当过来噻，第一段的今天的结果嘞，第送完也是我的。
So here, when one has utilized your waking period well, which is what's referred to the actual sessions of both the entire day and during the first and last part of the night. So here, one has utilized one's day well, both when one was in meditation session and the periods between meditation sessions. That one was focused on whatever the topic of meditation was in the session and between the sessions, keeping it present in one's mind with mindfulness, introspection, and so forth. So now what to do during these other periods, in particular in relation to the time of sleep, this will be explained.
la semyonsu jangbi duanden de jaos.
As well as what should just complete the former sentence, as well as what should have been done between them has been explained. So that's what we've looked at in the pages prior to this in the chapter. And then Lama Tsongkhapa continues, whether walking about or seated, completely purify your mind of the 5 hindrances and thus make whatever you do meaningful. When Lama Tsongkhapa writes, whether walking about or seated, so whatever one may be doing between sessions, so walking about one should understand to be any activity one may be engaging in, such as cooking and so forth, cooking, cleaning and so forth. At all times between sessions, then the advice comes, completely purify your mind of the 5 hindrances. So one needs, by keeping either preventing the 5 hindrances from arising, or should they arise, but not letting them abide, one will make whatever one does meaningful.
게마 줘봐지 근데 디소파 송고 동부 해야지.
So these 5 hindrances that we need to either prevent or preferably prevent from arising, or should they arise, to not let them abide and certainly not let them dominate. These 5 hindrances are actually 7, but some of them are doubled up, so they're presented as 5. So the first is desire for pleasures of the senses. Desire for pleasures of the senses, so attachment in relation to pleasures or sense pleasures. That's the first. The second is ill will or malice. That's the second. Then the third is 2, lethargy and drowsiness. That's the third, lethargy and drowsiness. The fourth also has 2, agitation, or usually translated as excitement, and guilt. Guilt. That's the fourth. And fifthly, doubt. So just to repeat those, the first of the 5 hindrances is desire for pleasures of the senses. The second is ill will or malice. The third has 2, lethargy and drowsiness. And the fourth has 2, mental agitation and guilt. And then the fifth one, doubt.
Tamnya bala tuna chawakya, janya bala chawakya, the chawakya, the be lamsanganzuli, Geshe Thubten Rabten, that disun Jidani Shigama, that Diga Songa, some doing some Yamlenjin, Tunsam Captivo, Droada, Duba, that Diga Shiroda, Tenegi, Tunsanya Captelia, Chicha Chavapa, Drodu, Paso Droya, Drodu Cablianji, Janya Bokoyata, and the Chig Miglia. You table the Toyala Sobada, the Nigi, Semlia Yanchig, Chike, Tehela Soli, and the Nigi, Yula Sobanyama Tomati, Jambali, Lamsa Delia, Chapaki, Yangayor, but is a Dineja, Chapaki Majo, Jambatin Gores or Jambatinja, or the Nigi Chapaki, Minusam, the Chapaki, Yamsa, Jambatipa. She's in the Jambatin, Chapaki, the Gamajo, Gahores, the Gahores, or the Angela Chapata said.
Again, these 5, the advice here that has been given is for us to employ during in between sessions. So when we in between sessions, certainly the first one, that of desire for pleasures of the senses, is very likely to arise, and because it arises so easily, we will just see by just seeing something we find pleasant, or hearing something we find pleasant, and so forth. Our mind is disturbed or distracted from our meditation object. And it's distracted because of this desire for pleasures of the senses, leading to memories of engaging in such pleasures in the past. And in this way, our mind is distracted.
Jike samlo kigu do kigu minu samdache, dene kigu chen shishin ten, dene ki nye ma kiro chigu ben, lamza de su ten ba chikti ne yako amar se ga hore se, sung hore se urwada. Nösim go shi ande.
The second is that of malice or ill will or harmful intent. So this too can arise all too easily. And this could arise from something unpleasant, leading to other memories being triggered, and therefore harsh thoughts arising. So this word for malice or ill will is literally a mind wanting to harm. So to stop such an affliction, as well as the previous one of attachment, one relies on the 2 friends of the meditator, mindfulness and vigilant introspection.
Zanda ni mu se de ni da mu pa se de dang zhe ge da ji he ba zu zhe yue ge le de ni da mu pa ji de ha yo ma da di ga song go sen da an ji ngom be ge ge le ya ni le ya da mu pa ge ge ji da di nyang a che shuo ji ro na zu du sen mi ba zhe ji du pa sam da xian da ga ya sam mi ba zhe ji du sam da de ni le ya ge nyang a che ji da an ji ge an ya ji ni ma le we na di mu pa se de Lege Nanga Chimbuyor, in that the Niki, Dan Shishin, Dan Jena, and the Niki, Gombe Kapla, 무바 용구도 민도 되네 용구 여러 책이나 야데 미바 같이 무바디 녀보 된제 파 송고 그래서 진짜 니레로 저도 용구도 민도 또 시징에 제바제 템비게 하고데 템비게 템바 된제 니레 사와 니 코야들라 파 가제 녀보 된제 도시네 니무블리 녀보 된제 도시네 제고래 사실.
The third hindrance, one is more likely to experience in the meditation session, but one certainly can between sessions too. And that is the hindrance of which has two components, the first being that of lethargy, and the second being that of drowsiness or sleepiness. So this is, as we know from our own experience, can arise all too easily when trying to meditate. The mind becomes heavy and dull. One may even start to doze off. So here, just like with the previous two hindrances, those of malice and desire for pleasures of the senses, the protection that the meditator employs is that of mindfulness and vigilant introspection.
미바데 세우메 바라치레 바직지 류리 지딩내로차 되네길이 니쿠야 될리고로와 세사지 된자 니묵세지 디차고로와 되네자 도스체 전시신 된고래사지 됐음고로와 제자 당한 저기 도스체 냠뇨 섬다베 당한 저 가브리엘이야 전화고래 니쿠로 맞아베나 샹다게데 니쿠마쿠에 내가 없어다 샹다디기 치료 유디게서 디디디제서 미당 소소 조보다 소소 레가다 스스기 지직 템바탄데 니디 마마마제 이세지 니디 쿠야데야 칼라카하차 저로다 안지 마디바로치네 마디바디 삼다데지 삼다 델레 삼다 삼다 바지 세세신데 니무고야 니쿠야라 칼라카 데네게데 니무고와로지 데네 강가로 주나 샹가 삼마다체 셈치로 마초와체 낭 삼나래 다소수게 셈제 탐제 대화데 되네 야고래 셈비 되네지 나라야 두치네 삼다제 샹 삼마 되네지 두샹 삼다데베네 니게레지 니쿠예게야 아니 저와체요래 대자 되네 삼다 니쿠든 게웨 삼라 땅고래 디지 공원 셰바나시 니쿠로 주게 게웨 삼다제 게웨 삼로 디나 나네 니쿠스네 겨와사글라로 어송소 디나신 두산 삼다베네 니쿠야리아 니마고 내서 젠다 삼다나 안딜레 니쿠야 두르야다 다데네게 낭 삼로 나래 두선 제지도 미바시 삼다제 곰샤베나 안딜레 니쿠야 데스 가서리 두두 고미다가 니다 무벌 레고라 견디 데네 삼다데 니딜레게 kon 니레게 탑람로 데네 삼다시나 야고도 왔음선도와
We need to sleep and refresh ourselves in this way, but we need to do so at the appropriate time, and that is not during the meditation session, but later in the evening. And we've all experienced in meditation when the mind becomes heavy. The object of the topic that one is meditating on, one is still engaging with it, but the mind becomes heavy and dull, and eventually one may notice that one is actually dozing off. So to prevent this happening in our meditation session, we need to sleep properly at night. And an obstacle, and if we don't sleep well at night, the meditations of the next day are likely to be quite difficult. And what may well keep one from falling asleep at the correct time is the mind being too excited, very busy. And usually this will be because of being drawn to memories of the past, things that were said or done and so forth. And so by those memories coming up and those being engaged with, then one's mind becomes agitated or excited when it should be, when we should be falling asleep. So therefore, the advice is consistent that, or the advice is that we should consistently or try to keep our object of meditation in mind, both in session and between session. And so when it comes to going to sleep, then we should still be guarding our mind from being distracted by past events or hopes for the future, but rather, again, rest with whatever it may be that we are meditating on. And then the mind will be calmer, and that will enable us to fall to sleep more easily and to sleep well. So by bringing the mind inwards when we go to sleep, by placing it again on the object of meditation rather than letting it dance around, then sleep should come more easily.
Ani ne goba da goba se goba diki ang ju gi da kom je de kala mi ba ji ji do sam da de ko ji mi ba pa na me shen sem de shan da pa yan do ne ji ko goba diki ji ji ko cha bu yu lu pa ani ji ko so su gi gai wi yu da gai wi da da gai wi dam da gai wi nian le ya sam da je do sem de pa chue zhe ju mu ra da ang ju di pe de yang si ang de le ji de le la yuan di ru ba de goba da 무바다 이디게 한주 곰 냠내 삼다베나 지 개위 자와 삼다 람사 고바게다 고바게 지 고바게데 영아 친구로다 레게데 둠도 레라보로 리고로다 세상 디네자 아주기 디네 곰 갑리나다 다네 다트 조와다 조와 갑소이나다 두비 갑소이나자 유라 지 차비게 유리야 셈디 디초라 따야디 가호레서다 디디 마도아제 가샤바이나 가서 마가바제 당샤바이나 차바게기 냥아요를 차단기가 냥아요 대자 대바가호레스 거바가호레스.
With meditation, especially initially, it's quite difficult to prevent the mind from being distracted. But by gaining experience, one will recognize that whilst the mind may be distracted by various thoughts, those thoughts have something in common. They are usually an expression of objects of attachment. And these arise within us so easily. And from these, we have the very common obstacles we're meditating of laxity, lethargy, and agitation or excitement arising so easily. This is something then that for ourselves we need to recognize, because to the extent that we recognize the danger of objects of attachment, in other words, thoughts directed towards pleasant experiences of the past or hopes for the future, that from this attachment, our meditation is greatly, the quality of our meditation is greatly reduced. This then gives us impetus to restrain our mind, to keep it on the object of meditation, seeing the danger of attachment.
당한 저기 냠내 제발라 조디 안데 시내다 저 고미알이야 조게 조디 니다 무바 진화도 고바디게 조 책을로다 니모르 좀 마죠베네 니다 무바 마죠나 니 진 고바디 파 숙체세 리그로 니 고바디 가샤베네 아니 니다 무바디 가 고바디 가베네 다 진화들이야 레기 아니 저기 냥아 첨부는 거로 봐 진짜 발셔조로 당한 저기 띵인 주베야라 발셔조디 고바단 진화 무버티게 최고래. 저는 니네 자당하나 두시네. 냠는 집이 갑라냐 두시는 한 저기 제 가리 냠는 집에나 공비 갑라 당하 저기 지게 파스 좋아이나다 되바이나 니네 갑리야 아니 지 고바 셈 안남명이 초알파 고바 제다 뇌심 제다 차바 제다 두시 파 가가가지네 고두시네 로디 파 장들 마스나 공라 슈체시 저디 니네 로 장바 용수 장바 세디 디니게 약을 차바들 용수 장배에서 디니 용수 장바 차야 되는 거서 내가 냠는 가르치면은 개와 약을 사투에서 된다 된 바중 그래서 싫어 된다 된 바자 오세데 된다 된 바자 오세.
When meditating in general, in particular when striving to develop calm abiding, laxity and excitement are the two major obstacles. And one can also add in the third, that of lethargy. So these are obstacles that will arise and arise regularly. And a key antidote to these obstacles of laxity, excitement or agitation and lethargy is aspiration for the benefits of attaining your meditative goals, such as calm abiding. So to have this strong yearning to attain that goal. And that strong yearning helps preventing the mind from sinking with laxity or being distracted with agitation. And and here, what's being mentioned is to purify the mind completely, or completely purify your mind of these 5 hindrances. because this is how we will come to attain our various meditative goals.
And Denigita draw out on two because on your mom, but Jeva in the Duna Midden Baruada, and as a Mohoide Ruada, Teletine Jevo, the Duashungorza, and Mohoerva, Chinakombe, and Nida Mupala Sopada, the Nichumana, that is so Yamlen Chevala Kewa, Yahudrilla Parchirva, Mohoetis. Duna Dembala Duda, when era, and the Nilem Yenerosina, Nihurachi de Shuba, Nihurachi Picasso, gave each of us sometime Nidam, E. Kursovana. 이 내고서 개와 쌓이고 그랬어. 세상 개와디 제보 디기 용고 세상 가지고 고야 되지. 된다 된바 디기 개와 된다데 된바 차고 그래서 된다 된바. 나 기비 냠라 제비 내가 소야 땅아 주기 지게 니무다 진화당 고바데 교바티스 가지 공부하네. 나 된다 된바 차로 그랬어. 세상 공부 가서 고바지에 두시베나 된다 미덴바 차고 그래서 된다 된바 세대다 먼저 냠는 제바나 중원에랑 야고 중화되어서 고고를 받아.
In order for one's meditation to bear fruit, to be successful, one needs to have have given rise to a strong yearning to fulfill the purpose of this meditation, to achieve the meaning of this meditation. This then comes about with having reflected well on the various benefits that will follow the successful cultivation of whatever the topic of meditation is. Then, when obstacles arise, or hindrances arise, such as laxity and agitation, lethargy, then because of one's strong yearning to achieve the purpose of the meditation, that strong yearning will serve with mindfulness introspection to pull the mind back to the object of meditation. And this will then also make it much easier to have the inner discipline that when going to sleep, one will recall what the topic of meditation and have that in one's mind as one goes to sleep. Because one will know that by sleeping or going to sleep with the object of meditation in mind, whilst one's asleep, one will accumulate merit because one's mind will stay engaged with the object of meditation and the familiarity or habituation to that object will grow. Similarly, in proportion to our yearning to achieve the purpose of the meditation, we will develop a similar determination not to come under the influence of the afflictions. One will recognize that the afflictions are what hinder our successful meditation, and we will not allow our mind to be deceived by the afflictions. When we notice them through introspection, when we notice an affliction, we will readily get rid of it and not follow it. This then too serves to aid our cultivation of the meditation topic. So therefore again, for the meditation to go well, the strong yearning or aspiration to achieve the purpose of the meditation is indispensable, because that will help protect the mind from the various hindrances, and in particular from the afflictions.
Jelia, or that thing it to reach out the dream and do Pesasha, dream and was a Gavaka and the Gavacha de Rua. Divina my TV Java chair, and TV Java chair, Jelia, some the other thing in nutrition shall the dream into San Big Gavaka and the Gavarua. Gavare. The thing on the Gavati, Chico Marsa Gavati Migawa did that. Majuki Gavara chair, other dream into San Big Gavaka and the Migale. That the dinner shared the Gavati Migawa did, but Gavacha Samare. That dinner. Jibangana shake Goda Gavas to a Gavadi by Migiva more to be Gava shower, but to Gavacha Samare. Gavali Nikavada Migawa Nisha, the Gavad Patina Yomarte, the Gavana Mare, the Migawa.
The fourth hindrance is the two, agitation, or usually translated as excitement, and guilt. So guilt is a changeable consciousness in that it can be either virtuous or non-virtuous. when it's included as it is here amongst the 5 hindrances, it is non-virtuous mind. Normally, when we hear about guilt, it's in relation to past misdeeds, past non-virtues, and then leads to the determination, guilt leads to the determination to not once again engage in such misdeeds. That's the context that we usually hear about guilt. But in the context of the 5 hindrances, guilt is in relation to something virtuous, where one regrets having engaged in virtue.
Gamma choosing has a jedua, or that is in it, Chokoti, two word, the Matuadi, Gomra, Captain Pesach, the Norsha, some Georgia, some that didn't make a watcher. Says that Georgia, Georgia, and Mikawades. Says that dinner, the Mikawacha, Pangores, the dinner, Gawores, a chicken, Yamne, the Yamne, Yapura, Jumena, the jail garson, at the dating in Yem, Jed, Yapura, Jumi, the Majin Tata, the Georgia, the City, your Maris order.
The kind of guilt that is being referred to here in the 5 hindrances could arise, for example, if you know your friends are going to have a party or go somewhere that you'd love to go to as well, but you have committed to do your meditation. So now you do your meditation, but you have some regret for that because you would really much rather have had a nice time with your friends. So that is a hindrance to one's spiritual development. There's a regret for actually having engaged in meditation or in virtue.
Lugi Juba Julam ni Samola Chasumlu Jebigi Chabarwi Tse Loyeba and Paptia Gangba Yumbala Yumba Ibi Tendo Shane sing it and yellow such.
And returning to Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary, the act of sleep takes place between sessions and therefore should also not be wasted with no benefit. The physical act consists in lying on your right side during the middle of the 3 periods of the night, placing the left leg atop the right, and sleeping like a lion.
Yamlin Chebane, Kawa Yungu, and Mena Sambegi, Tijebana, the Tisma Chebajanet, Ma get Yamlin dinner, the Jehor Salameka, now an Asian, Dagaran Yamlin Jehores or didn't know Gomgore, Suman, Dagaran Gomgores or that. Tesum did I answer that Jibangan and Tesum says the Tesum Lapin answer the colors and the color the Shimbu in them and some Tesum Saturova, Dene Tesum to Yamada, that Tesum de la Rignicia Denege, that jig, that is the Tesum Sadi, Gonchsan Yelly, Gonchola, and the jig, Tesum Sawa, Lay Gundela, Tesum Java, Give Java, Caswood, Denechilla, Tesum Savana, Tesum Tikeva, Jig Dosine, Sumor, that is Tesum Tik.
Before we move on, the 5th of the 5 hindrances was that of doubt. So we have doubt towards many things. Should I eat this or should I eat that? That's not what's referred to here. Doubt is in relation to such things as, does a cause and effect exist? Do the 3 jewels exist? Is Buddhahood possible? So doubts such as those, or doubts in relation to the meditation advice one has received. So here, those doubts should ideally have been settled prior to engaging in meditation on that topic, because otherwise doubts can serve as a hindrance in this way to one's meditation.
신의 두기나면 신의세 두여나면 사람 태좀 제반다 디 태좀 디겐지 아주 신의 두여라 바시지고로 와다 시선 제투 제말 아니 아직 신의 두여 냠는 제니에도와 디 주에데 야보라 주마도 원에 아니 아데지 야보 주베 야보 주마서 다데 제메제 최면도 some 대진님의 뒤에 쇼응업은 이기부터 예 말하죠. 쇼응업은 라지 검자데 야보 주무지 쇼응업은 라지 뒤면에서 배겨박이서나 되네 누스는 겨박이는 길이길이잖아. 냠는 제야래야 심슈도 충슈로 봐. 제가 됐어야 겨바 맞게 받아. 근데 대시 어디니게 제부 주여요 받아 투부래 샘백이 뽑아기에 제 공부를 해서 그러다 겨박이에다 최소 맞게 뽑아기에 제 공부를 해서 그런 냠는 제 오래서
If for example, one's meditation topic is to develop calm abiding, but it's not going as easily as one had hoped, one may think, is calm abiding even possible for me? Perhaps this is beyond me. So that a doubt such as that clearly is a hindrance to one's success in one's meditation. Or one may express doubt towards the meditation method. This is not going as easily as I expected. This meditation method I've been taught must be mistaken. So there again, a doubt that causes harm is being expressed. And likewise, if one's meditation session doesn't go well, then thinks, this is beyond me. That too, such a doubt, whether one has capacity or not, will serve as a hindrance. So in general, one can say that the faults that follow from doubts include that one's confidence or strength of mind weakens. In order to persevere, to bring about a deep and lasting transformation of our mind, to develop new habitual tendencies, one needs confidence. And if the mind is confident, we will overcome any potential doubt.
어느 예외 군주에 둔사 임베스에 예외 군주에서에 야당으로 시고다 그 류기 야당으로 시고라 디가 둔삼여 임베스 둔삼가마다 곰베가서 예야마다 그 곰데 히트바 둔삼 임베 데네레스 제가 데네에서 대양 되메도메다 와서 되지 공을 셰바나제 예외 니쿠고네 없어야 대체 되메도마다제 계위 자와 두도 받지 오리에스 대양 되메도메다 둔삼여 값서 둔지 값서데 개와 두고로 와다 이러와 개와 두고래 다 둔삼 마샤다 공다 많이 비값서이나야 한델야 기베 삼다제 아니 니쿠와 제고래 데네네 되메도나 템바 차고레스 데네게 삼마다제 아직 소식이 이제 가보니 뭐 삼다야 아직 소소를 야가로다 데네게 삼다도 니쿠 소베나 네 개와사고 마사두고 말 되메 차로 그래서 진짜 되메 당원어서
To go back to then the act of sleep which takes place between sessions. So let's see us stated very clearly, the time to sleep is not during a meditation session. And moreover, it should also not be wasted with no benefit, which means that we should take our period of sleep as a further opportunity to accumulate merit. In other words, a further opportunity to familiarize or habituate our mind to the topic that we are meditating on. This is important. Whatever that meditation topic is, recall it prior to going to sleep. Not allow the mind to wander to our friends and what they may be doing, and our enemies and what they may be doing. Rather, we should keep our mind, as throughout the day, on the meditation topic.
Temola Chasumdu Jebigi and Chaparwe said that Chasum Jangadrege said, Ten Casore Sajipne, Mani Tusiche, and Diparaton Nico send no showing over the Shirwada, the Nigi, and Chasum the Chibi, Parwa de la Daniege, Barwige, that send the Lasengun de Lanier, Carjor, Canesniorson, Loyeba, Papte, Sidon Duducine. The age of the mark Sagal Gini or Ezoreda, each Sagal Matne, Yeva Papte, and Garshosa, Gambadi Garsosa, Papte, Gamba Yumbadi, and Gamba Yebedo, Pashache, and sing it and Yavacha Hosachi. The Benegas Lawadi, Karsuri, Labadi, Govala Basha, Lava Yeba Govala Sha, then Lava Ma, Kodo Dankamba Yebadi, and the Gambo Yumba Kalmas and Kaji Dusine, Nievores, sing it, and Yavasha was.
Text continues. The physical act consists in lying on your right side during the middle of the 3 periods of the night. So we should understand the 3 periods of the night referring to not at the beginning of the night, so at sunset, and not at the end of the night at dawn, but at a period in between. This is the appropriate time to sleep. And one goes to sleep by lying on one's right-hand side, with one's head resting on one's right hand, and with placing the left leg atop the right one, which is the posture of sleeping like a lion.
Yeah,
this is called the lion posture, and this is how we encourage to sleep.
Lo yeba salva sha ane chi kangpa yunpa de kangpa yebe tundo sha che o lakwa ti ane go wala sha chi dus nye di singeta nye wala tsungo ma singeta nye tang dine nye wo re se dina nye singe na shi si tu singe dara si tu singe se di simjin tam chigi na ko pe chigi si ji da chigi wang shi ma zun chiye za ko pa nye du dine ane chigi Shen Simjin Nuwa Mahaji, Kotonga Zimji Karsore, Simjin Shandadi, Tus, Shena Amdra, Jungurwa, Ko Sijida Nemi, Siji Jorwa, Sengela. Senge, Senge de Simjin Shanda to Sington Shigirwa. Jason Singing Yeduba in there, Simjin Shanda to the Shigiro, Niku Duba Shigurwa, Simjin Shandadi, Jason Two Dram the Coligoma, just singing Siji Nubachorwa. Or the Nigi Ye Kablina. Nyomobe want to Masonwa, the Nigi, Nyomobe Masu, singing Nashin, but Siji the Tempati knew what I said, singing the Yawacha said this song with Sarada.
So again, the posture is we're lying on the right-hand side of our body, with our head rested in the right hand, and legs one on top of the other. So this is called the lion posture, and it's not called the lion posture because this is how lions sleep. Rather, we can recognize that even when a lion is asleep, it can rest fearlessly because all other animals will fear it. If an animal comes across a sleeping lion, it will still quietly back away. So in the case of the meditator, the posture of sleeping is called the lion posture because even when asleep, the meditator is taking such good care of their mind that their afflictions still will not be able to harm them. So for this reason, this posture is called the lion posture.
Yeah, Senge said, Jumden de Shaya Senge, Tumba Shage Tuba, Senge, that the Simjan Tamjigi, that Jigi, Sijida Tempa, one to Simjan, Nashin. Simjin Sengasiro, Tinaja, Sanya Jumlen, Nyomo be Jibaton, but Gyunyi Jibatamjil drawer, Wada, Gyunyi Jibatamjil drawer, Gyungangi Yang, Nugiri Sembeki, Jiki, Got Namda, Shenacho, how Merwa, Senge, Chisa Singeta, said, Singeta Yawacha, Sanya Jumlen de Duchine, Simpical, Denis Simgor, Wada, Dushin Simgore, and Sanya Jumle de Yang de Bicabline, and Dushin Simbar, or Dinashin, Dinashin, Yawari,
And similarly, or furthermore, Buddha Shakyamuni is also referred to as a lion in the same way that a lion is fearless because it is foremost or dominant amongst animals. The Buddha is also fearless because of having completely defeated the afflictions, and the Buddha knows or does not fear the afflictions because the afflictions cannot arise within a Buddha and therefore cannot harm a Buddha. So for this reason, a Buddha is also can be referred to as being like a lion or fearless like a lion.
And the niggy neighbor in the Aji 25 tubu mukhole khabar ngusra ko ni lama solam sa se shosho da denege ani duchene da nyedan de dus nyebene tanga zulia chi kewe samlo khoya da ni tubu shiwo ma khoya la so ba da denege khabar mango chu yin yura da dene ma khoya da ni lamsa se ne se sho ben simjen sengit dige ne simjen yedu lamsa 착서 람산이 세용으로 와대. 그 람산하고 랑으로 와. 진짜 람산 그 되네게 세셔셔. 니 두고 쉬고는 잠도 계죠. 저 같은 니 세겨 말. 되네 멤버 제도 예배네. 니디게 람산 니 두고 뭐셔. 람산 니는 다야리아 갈래매 봐. 네 도숑으로 해야죠.
Third reason to refer to this analogy, or to use the analogy of sleeping like a lion, is that a lion, like other animals, tend not to sleep particularly deeply. They jump awake at a sound. So here, the meditator is encouraged to sleep quite lightly, not to fall into deep oblivion, but to rest lightly.
나디네 녀비게 줄람디네시 나디네게 단 되네게 녀윈 대시 공도 셰바나지 이후로 집에 갑려야 내가 템바 가르쳐선 템바니사 님바라 강곰바 시치비 개와라 개외 자와라 네 템바 니도 마송을 봐도 제수 정을 템바 오세데 소수기 님공 가래 냠내제 곰바들이야 님바라 곰체비 개외 자와들 봐 템바 어디지 되는데 곰비겠지 곰들이 전국으로서 전제 젠도 도시 니마고 봐도 도시네 젠바디 진제 되고 그래서 젠마 니마 소며 봐도 제수 한 장을 템바고 도시의 공부를 삼당고래 도시의 삼단에 삼르디 나네 이후 소바나 대시 년수바나 니네 가서 니마세 봐도 개와 차도요. 제가 니후에 내가 가서야 개와 주도요. 되나 템바 차고 그래서지.
Continuing in the text, as for mindfulness, recollect until you fall asleep the predominant virtuous activities that you have cultivated during the day, or that you have been habituated to during the day. So this is, as has been already said tonight, that when one goes to sleep, one should recall or be mindful of your topic of meditation. Recall that and hold it with mindfulness, and have that present in one's mind as one falls asleep, so as to strengthen one's habituation to what you have been habituating to throughout the day.
And deni is deni ke temba tembe wani ni kurson na se ora deni ni lobe cheyang ni ma loba dan dabar tingi zin la so be ge nge jur kyon yu be nu so jesa da ni ku wa deni ke samda je gewe samdu che de gewe samla de samda ni kurson na ni ku ye che da ni mo ku wa na shen je ne na shen ji ku tingi zin ya an zi ji be samda ji du sin gewa zu go res.
Lama Tsongkhapa continues. Therefore, even while asleep, you can maintain whatever spiritual practice, such as concentration, you pursued when you were not asleep. This then will ensure that one's habituation continues to strengthen, and also one will rise with the meditation topic already present in one's mind.
두신 삼다 두신의 고묘도 아주 디베제 그 고압들하고 말아. 뜻이 가르치는 쇼변에 야라 계주로 제 님의 곰 안바라 튼섬데 바라데 파조하다 데베가서 계주로 삼다 개와에게 삼다 안 많이 구해놔서 개와 삼다에 된 디베 삼다에들하고 말아. 고라고 말아. 세상 개와지냐 두고 두신의 삼다가도 곰시로 곰지 직대야 돼. 근데 게디나 개와장 기회 자와마도 디베 자와도 연구 말을 지난 되는 인상 아주 장도를 제거를 뺀 자준 봐야 되기나 자준 몇 고방 톱스야다 상계에서야 그런 소리야 기회 삼로의 현재 편배 자와 삼로 기회 삼로마도 현재 네버 제약이 차와 제약이 아니 셈 남양 좋아야다 가야 되는 게 미기회 자와서야다 디바세디 삼로나로 윤의 연구 말이야 말보다 당한주기로 여봐서 한주기네 두 장기 두장 삼나다 잠바다 신대 구두 곰곰곰고제 야기에 발소나 철철철 친제 아니 가슴 찔려 아니 지게 Jajumba Najin, Sangye Najin, Samno Kidine, Gawajan, Cordium Mado, and give you some Mado, and Chigi, Nibi, Sambada, Series, DB, Kiwi, some said, Diva, some said, that's all you know, I never did. Yungor, what in is that? Two in a Jantor or yes, or down Lamsade in a yacht where Marwat in other to do sing to come to use and Jantor or yes, I soon go over that.
What's being presented here in this chapter on the meditation session is that having come to understand your topic of meditation well, in the meditation session, you stay with that meditation topic, which means your mind stays on virtue. And as soon as you're getting distracted with mindfulness introspection, you bring your mind back to the meditation topic. This means throughout your meditation session, you accumulate virtue by keeping your mind on virtuous topics. So in each and every meditation session, you're accumulating virtue. And here in this section, we have these 4 sub-outlines on how to ensure that one continues to accumulate merit between meditation sessions. In other words, how to keep the mind on the meditation topic during meditations, in between meditation sessions as well, such as the need to restrain our sense doors, to eat the right amount, and now also at the time of sleep. So in this way, we see how throughout the waking hours, we accumulate merit by following the advice here. And moreover, even at the time of sleep, by going to sleep with a mind of virtue, with the mind on the meditation topic. And that also ensures makes more likely when we wake up, our mind once again easily turns to the meditation topic. So this is the advice that's given here for how to ideally live one's life, not just in retreat or in a period of full-time meditation, because if we try to live in the way that's advised here, our mind will be virtuous at all times. And we will be emulating the example of the foe destroyers and bodhisattvas and Buddhas, because this is how they live. Their minds are at all times on virtue. Their minds are at all times focused on their goal of benefiting others. Even though we are a long way from being foe destroyers or Buddhas ourselves, by training ourselves in this way, we will start to weaken and eventually break our non-virtuous habituous patterns by becoming ever more familiar or habituated to wholesome or virtuous habitual ways of thinking. So this doesn't come about easily. It requires repeated and persistent perseverance, doing so with a mind that is light and joyous, a mind that takes delight or pleasure in keeping the mind virtuous, and delight and pleasure in refraining from engaging in what is non-virtuous. And in this way, we strengthen our virtuous habitual patterns and weaken and eventually break our non-virtuous habitual patterns.
And the Niki and Yamin Chebas, all the that Jigge, Nishin, Jambati Tingua, Chagurua, the name Zada, the Ma, Shishin, so Shishin said, and she is ne, Jambatin be, say, Yomon Gang, Garon Juna, De Shepherd, Jane, and down to Milimba Pon, said Shishin. Jambatin be, say, Yomoba, Garon Juna, De Shepherd, Jane, and down to Milimba Pon was.
Lama Tsongkhapa, having presented mindfulness, immediately follows with vigilance or introspection. As for vigilance, if any mental affliction arises while you are, I change this one word, while you are making use of mindfulness, or while you are relying on mindfulness, become aware of it and eagerly eliminate it rather than accepting it.
Jambatin say, Sidang, do Sino Com Chetilia, Mifachilo Com Chetisto, Com Chetibi Cablia, Dus Combi, Ansemba, Chickens Hamo Paradilia, Susugi, Chige, 가서 내가서 다 유신다 실리아도 삼지 코어도 남산 시신기 하고 거다 시신기 하고 하지 되는 하고도 엔디는 요모 받지 되는 지키고 받는 유디라 차바로 차다로 기용 그거나 남산 시신기 하고 하지 하고 해도 남산 시신 하고 해도 남산 될이야 당도 말len 받지 남산 템베지 바가 그래서 당도 말len 받지 바가 그래서
The role of vigilance or introspection is that it is this consciousness that is aware when our mindfulness of the object of meditation has been lost or has weakened. It's vigilance introspection that notices this, and then we can re-employ our mindfulness on the object. So hence the translation should rather be, if any mental affliction arises while you are relying on or making use of mindfulness. And it's introspection that notices that mindfulness has weakened or has been lost. And therefore, one can reapply mindfulness to whatever the meditation topic is.
Jamada Shishin said, the Dangan, Comkari Cabne, that and Shishi Tingura, that the Kapsu Babadi, the Benavi, Seven, and Ni Mukuro to the Kablian, and some Nonalia, Jian, Jiki Shanda, and Namang Yuda, Chabu Yu Chamberna, Tengu Dumini Shishin Hago, and Lamsa Dipaka, and Jambadelia, and the Kiwi Chala Tengme, but Hagona, Lamsan Kiwi Chawa, the change education, some Tangures, and some Tangures, a Sungurwa.
So in our context here of how to meditate when going to sleep, both of these consciousnesses of mindfulness and vigilance need to be utilized. Whatever one is meditating on, whichever meditation topic, that is what one should recall when one goes to sleep. And it is through our vigilance that we notice if our mind has gone somewhere else. It'll usually be to an object of attachment. It's usually something that we have attachment for or desire for, that our mind is distracted towards. And it's our vigilance that will notice that. And then we can, with our mindfulness, return to the virtuous object of our meditation. The text continues. The notion of getting up consists in projecting the thought, I will get up at this and that time.
And the Dusutil Yuji, Jukuya, Yanga, the Zada, David, you say, Sanya Shogat in the Chilingi, Nilanginda, the Lange and the Comja Kosu is a Pelangis with the nigger some Pemba Tawena, and the Sanya Shogat in Yisea, research.
Here then, when one lies down to sleep, in addition to keeping in mind one's object of meditation, one sets a twofold determination, one of which is I will get up at a particular time, and the second is I will get up at that time and continue meditating on one's topic. So this is the twofold determination one sets when lying down to sleep. And the purpose of this determination is to prevent one from oversleeping.
Jike some to Gang Shua, Nadina, Tetana, Muishi, Kapki, Kyonsul, Tumomain, Matopa, Joada, Muishi Dang, and Juda, Tunsam Sujidar Java, Namni, Dine, Sungde, Nel Hautongi, Bari, Minam, Gang, Tamjala, Jara Javos.
This particular section then concludes with, apart from the unique trainings of each meditation during the actual meditation session, these instructions on what should be done in preparation during the actual meditation, at the end, and between sessions should be applied to every object and its aspects, and we can add being sustained from here up to special insight.
And you go what you watch your then tun some so carche or the tun some so didn't Madusine, tun some billion draw out to a new quarter, do some down the Mashurwa, Chesna, Dedana said dinner, the Sheba dis or the Sheba dia. Kangu Shiba di Chasan or Dedana said disorder. Give you shin in Tinso Caso, Joa, and then where you come be come tongue, and the Jiggy come to each other, Ju Gawati, Oya, and that the Tunsam Gablia draw out the Dubada, knew who in us some down that Sheva, this some down to Shubadi, Tetana, this was Chasan, and the Gardi Chasan Carriers, and when she got gone to more Maimba, Matobas, and when she got Gomna, Gomba, Miba, two more Maimba, Gomea, Mato Shanda, and Chasan Chibares or that. That gave you seen the Combarada. Then we should go 2 more my carrying and jelly as a Tombani command, me by Tombani Chagarua, so that me by Tombani, Jevika, Mato, and Joran Judah, the Chasachi Bares or Joran Judah to them, some done a Chasachi Bares or.
So, bearing in mind that up to this point in the text, Lama Tsongkhapa has presented just one of the many key meditation topics in the Lamrim, and that is relying on the spiritual teacher. So to rephrase what he's saying here, it is that apart from the unique aspects that are specific to relying on the topic of relying on a spiritual teacher, such as recalling the many qualities of the spiritual teacher, his great kindness and so forth, those being the unique trainings rather than aspects, the unique trainings in relation to that topic. The procedure is the same for each and every topic that is still to come. So when you look at this, he's referring here to what one should do in terms of the preparation or the preliminary to the meditation. So those 6 steps we looked at earlier in the chapter, such as preparing the meditation room and the shrine and so forth, and the actual meditation itself, and then the conclusion of the meditation and the in-between sessions. This stays standard for each and every meditation topic as one progresses from right now, where one has covered just one, relying on the spiritual teacher, up to the final topics such as that of emptiness. So if one is meditating on emptiness, then one will keep that in mind both in the meditation session, in between sessions, and still at the end of the day when one lies down to go to sleep, it will be emptiness that one is holding in mind.
Di membe dang do sine jube na sine mi ba kharle mi be na an mi ba tel mi che ne kom gol me mi ba de ke we sin gom se mi ba de sine jube mi ba kha cha so di na sin ga dong ba ni le zhi de gom ba ne yu di dong ba yi cha lo jia sa ngui xi gap ji是呢ngui xi gom be gap ji sine ngui xi jube gap la mi ba di ko sine jube mi ba de la mi ba mi gom ma de ke we sin de ma lo di na xi dang dong ba ni le bi ne zhi de gom be ga le mi ba di我是搞了东北的公园的，没把的，这没把卡卡起来，土毛嘛一把。地毛到现在就业搞做啊，这个这些给新人做公园搞了，那些业障嘛，加把当古松土给点把啥当，点的话了对绿，那么那确定啥当，那给些古农，那给什么开发者啥都说话的古农做话的这些，公办这，但公办我就这个的是呢。Judy and Comse Kawa Waterwa. 난 튠지 발삼 갑라다데 디지 셰바나신 디지 공주버디게 차고로 제가 마도바 조와다 무시다 쭉 튼참 지달샤바남 간디 셰바나신 다 디네 손대서 기위 신유 검수 디네 송대랑 아주게 야 지기 되네야 아니기 무슨기 남이 탈 안타와 침별 남지림바 동반이 공바 제 하동 공바들 봐도 신의 손대 하동게 바기 미남 강 중화 탐제 나 자와서 디네기 공난 냠는 가르쳐비나 되네야 신의 주바다 하동도 공제비 갑라 무시다 디네기 아니 주다 아니 튼삼되게 삼다 지부지게 하려 차상 두지 고고래서 그러다
I want to emphasize this final point here in this section so as to encourage you to get very familiar with what has been presented in this chapter. Because here Lama Tsongkhapa is presenting to us how to establish a meditation session, both for one's daily practice as well as when doing longer periods such as retreat. And the quicker one gets very familiar with this procedure, the easier it is to apply as one progresses through the various meditations that we will slowly move through as we progress through this text over the next few years. So every meditation, whatever the topic is, starts with the preparation. So those that we had earlier in the chapter, and it had 6 parts: preparing the meditation room and the shrine and setting up one's offering, visualizing the merit fields, accumulating and purifying through the 7 limbs, offering mandala and so forth. So that one does, whether one is meditating on, relying on the spiritual teacher, precious human rebirth, and so forth. Then one engages in the actual meditation session, and there one will have the unique aspects or the unique trainings of that particular meditation topic. So in terms of relying on the spiritual teacher, one recalls the many great qualities of one's teacher so as to generate faith or trust in him, as well as recalls his tremendous kindness to develop deep respect for one's teacher. So that is in the actual meditation session, and that is specific to that topic. Later, when one comes to the next topic, precious human rebirth, it will have its own outlines within the actual meditation session. But for whatever the topic is, the preparation is the same, and the actual meditation session is followed by the conclusion. And that too is the same for all the meditations. Likewise, our behavior between sessions, that is now just being concluded, where we need to restrain our sense stores. We need to utilize mindfulness introspection, have the correct measure of food, and also relate to sleep in the way as that has been presented tonight. So what the point Lama Tsongkhapa makes here at the conclusion is, learn this well, get familiar with it in your meditation now on the quality on the spiritual teacher, so that it's easy to employ as we move slowly through each of the meditation topics.
Then choosing issues of she like a Jawa Janya Dukotan Sonsoad, this one I did ma to Sulov the Nine Lametama, or this is Anzuki, Duchene, some Jake Lamy Sumbanashi, Duchan Azuki, come out to the Cheo idea, Azuki that, to see Horova. Since I don't Azuki gave it to give us the new to give out to go or set the Lamsa, gave it, Jebu de Migi, Toya, which made the chicken that Jerasha digital terminal some side, they give us Shavana, then they are in Yanga. In a dang do chin some Kawadu Cheveti and Dumdrel Masonang Chele Galicia, some dot Odinia Mangi, the T-shirts and big that did some big the Hakula. Just that some dabbing around some dabbing. Yama getting around to give Lo Chunjun Kabla some Tana Kayore, around to give Nanchugi Maja Vinilla some Tana Lagaletan Carriore. 다 낭취 제장 찬도 순로 망비 침비 제려야 다 삼다나 가리도 선배 삼도 심주 제도 되는 신이 어디다 이야기 줘봐 되면서 하고 그래 이야기 줘도 왔어 단님마 삼다나 되는데 당아디 교신 삼다나 된디서 대상은 마선 기회 자와를 예마는다 기회 자와 뉴뉴로 와려가만 다 대상은 아주 지게 넘균 이제 최需要的 예세제야를 디멘비가 아주 참도야를 도시는 지게 아주 개화해야 돼 균리를 마음마 당겨 받은 아주 하고 두고도 되네자다 도시에 얘기다데 개화 개체세 당겨 받은 아주 도시는 삼단을 하고 두고래 된자다 아주 준비 연구도 다지 하고 중시하선비게 소수기 뽑아게야다 아딩은 무드네 되는 되는 지긴 선비가 아주 인도 개화데 이게 좀 맞춰고래 되네자 아주 지기도 진짜 소수기 10초를 삼다 심주를 제는 당한주 준비 템바다 이야기 주고요 받아 하고 거래 이 멤버야 아즈랴 도시양 아주기 최자다 소수도 시대 강구 신민도 선배가 마신민도 아직 장거할 때 이야기 줘야면 선배 삼로 연구할 때 이내 당한주기 도시는 하모되다 7월 파친제 가야 마장행지 최교로 좀 마장행 지금도 파 투지 기시도 되는 최유고 선배 상보 제화야다 냠내 제당고 도시 제화서 디망아 시야라고 디시야데 소스나라 하고 고 신고로 신고네 시야라고 마신의 시야라고 말어 제사 도 삼단에 대 이야기 주고요 받아 소수기 도스 개와 주와당 이야기 주고요 받이 하고 두고라 진행 자당은 저기 지게 강한 제바도 소수기 인도께야다 마오바는 게 디무디디 지긴 선배게 나가도 듬바 전적이야도 도시에 예치 못 차기도 하나 차사지 바로와 What
Lama Tsongkhapa has presented here, let's rephrase it. So the way to take what has been presented here by Lama Tsongkhapa is in accordance with what he said in the earlier chapters, which is the way to receive every teaching is as if it is direct instruction, personal advice from the author of the text, Lama Tsongkhapa himself. And here Lama Tsongkhapa is advising each and every one of us how to spend each and every 24-hour period, which is in the accumulation of virtue, which is done through ensuring that our mind stays solely on virtuous topics, and we don't allow our mind to stray, or certainly not to dwell on non-virtuous topics. Here, a further key point to take is that it's of great importance to generate a solid understanding of the benefits of cultivating the Dharma within, to come to understand the kind of person we will be if we can have the Dharma manifest within us at all times. And the stronger this aspiration is within us, the more genuine that aspiration is, the easier it is to turn away from the common excitements and pleasures that otherwise draw us. We'll come to see those common or mundane excitements and pleasures as not having any real meaning, as certainly not having any lasting benefit. And then it becomes quite easy to break habitual patterns of being drawn in various directions away from the minds of the Dharma. Now, and a further reflection I encourage you to engage in is, because most of you have been involved with Buddhism for many years, and again, for most of you, it's not just been around Buddhism, but have been trying to cultivate these minds within. So I encourage each and every one of you then to think of your, or rather to recall your way of thinking some years ago, your way of thinking before you met the Dharma. What ways of thinking were dominant, the kind of person you were, and compared to now. And I'm confident you'll see quite some change. And that change has come about in dependence on hearing teachings and reflecting on them, so that these various topics of the Dharma arise ever more readily in your mind and become ever more part of who you are. In other words, the minds of the Dharma become, or the topics of the Dharma become entwined with your very mind. And this I encourage you to reflect on, to recognize. And the purpose of this is for you to generate confidence in yourself. Recognize that this is possible, because all too often one can have a misapprehension of one's potential, focusing or exaggerating what one doesn't know, focusing or exaggerating on where improvement has not been up to one's desires. What is more realistic to do is compare yourself to friends, perhaps those that you've had for many years from before you met the Dharma, and see what their values are, how they live their lives, and recognize that that would have most probably been you if you hadn't engaged in the Dharma in the way that you have. So I encourage you again, especially those of you who have been involved with Buddhism, receiving teachings, meditating for some years, reflect on the improvement in your mind, and do so to gain confidence that change has happened, and therefore further change will still happen, and not to allow one's mind to focus on any deficiencies, or to think that something is beyond one, or that there isn't enough time left in this life, but rather to recognize more clearly our incredible potential. So thank you. Then we'll conclude there for tonight, and we'll continue tomorrow morning. Thank you.